everyone. Welcome to day one of the event. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm Naomi Hall, and I work with AWS Professional Services as a principal consultant, and I've been specializing in Amazon Connect for about 4.5 years. I'm excited to share the stage today with Sam Watson, a senior software engineer with Intuit. And some of you may already know, but Intuit is one of our largest volume customers, and they've been helping to drive the Amazon Connect roadmap for close to 5 years. Sam will share with you today Intuit's journey on delivering resilient, personalized experiences at scale with Amazon Connect. He will speak to you today how they've utilized the openness and programmatic capabilities with Amazon Connect. I'm going to share with you some details about our services and our AWS best practices using built-in features with Amazon Connect. But first, why is this such an important topic in the contact center industry today? So in the past 2 years, how many of you have seen dramatic changes to the demand for customer service within your businesses? So I see some of you have your hands raised. How many of you have been challenged with meeting this demand? I see some of you have experienced this. Well, as many of you can relate, it's been a challenging couple of years to run a contact center. I've been in the industry over 25 years, and I've not witnessed a change of this magnitude in the contact center engineering space. So scaling and operating contact centers has always been a unique challenge. But with the pandemic, more folks were staying home. Businesses, schools, and even healthcare industries were required to work in virtual settings. And this drove an increase in demand for virtual help across most industries. So Gartner actually tells us that clients and vendors saw traffic growth into customer service and support functions increase from 4% a year to more than 1,000. So therefore, the ability to deliver a scalable contact center that can not only meet peak demand, but can adjust to market conditions is more important than ever. But the increase in demand was not all. Customer tolerance has changed. So customers raised their expectations for customer service. And today, customers expect faster, reliable, and more personalized experiences. In 2021, close to 90% of leaders were reporting that customer expectations were at an all-time high. Based on a recent survey, 75% of customers expect to receive good customer service, but only 49% are actually receiving it. So for example, in our experience working with customers in the travel and hospitality space, they saw a dramatic increase in cancellations and rebookings during the pandemic. And the demand for new reservations almost stopped. Travelers were frustrated. They expected quick resolutions without additional cost to them or impacting their loyalty status. You may have experienced this yourself as a traveler. Customers expected companies to not only provide the same level of service, but with more options and less hassle. And as travel restrictions were lifted, the demand for reservations increased to pre-pandemic levels. And all of this caused a really challenging space to plan, staff, and operate with dramatic fluctuations while trying to meet and exceed customer expectations. So what are the risks of not addressing these new expectations? Well, according to a research study commissioned by Shep Hyken, 64% of customers would switch to a competing brand over a bad customer experience. And 68% of customers say that a convenient customer service alone would make them loyal to a company. So therefore, if customer expectations are not met, customer growth and loyalty are at risk. So at Amazon, we can relate to these challenges as we grow our own customer service. We continue to strive to be Earth's most customer-centric company. And we've always seen tremendous value in delighting our customers, going above and beyond to serve their needs. And because of this focus, Amazon has a long history of dedication to our customers, applying the art of customer service, and experience running a large contact center. If you've ever had to contact us, you've hopefully seen this in action. You may be surprised to learn that we have more than 100,000 customer service agents, and we're serving millions of customers in dozens of languages in 32 different countries worldwide. And so when there are major shifts in the market, we're experiencing them along with you. So how do we ensure we can meet and exceed this new bar that customers expect? Before I hand the mic over to Sam to share how Intuit's overcoming these challenges, I'd like to quickly share a little bit about Amazon Connect and how it enables our customers to solve these challenges. How many of you already are familiar with Connect? Okay, I see a good number of you in the room. So as those of you may already know, Amazon Connect is a fully cloud-based contact center solution provided by AWS. Setting up an Amazon Connect contact center can be done in just a few clicks, and it's fully managed with a global telephony network. Your agents can literally begin taking contacts in minutes from anywhere around the world just with a browser and a headset. And in fact, your agents can, in fact, we've helped some customers build end-to-end contact centers to support remote agents during the pandemic in a matter of days. Amazon Connect automatically scales to meet contact center workload. Agents from anywhere, you can connect to agents from anywhere, but you also only pay for what you use. You can bring tens of thousands of agents in response to business cycles or for unplanned events and cycle them back just as easily. You can deliver personalized, natural-sounding conversational interactions with our proven speech recognition and natural language understanding technology. Amazon Connect is simple to administer as well. Anyone from non-technical business leaders to experienced contact center administrators can immediately start innovating on behalf of your customers using intuitive, self-service graphical user interface we provide. And Amazon Connect is built ground up to make it easy to deliver machine learning powered results. You don't need to be a data scientist to make the most of your data. So the combination of all of these benefits means you can instantly and easily optimize your customer experiences and keep pace with customer expectations. So now I'd like to hand the mic over to Sam to share how Intuit has been staying in front of these challenges with their Amazon Connect journey.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Naomi, for that awesome introduction. It's been such an honor to work with the Amazon Connect product and the Amazon Connect team to build our contact center story here at Intuit. Before I give an introduction into our contact center story, I really want to give a brief introduction into Intuit first. So Intuit is a global financial technology platform focused on powering prosperity across 100 million customers through TurboTax, QuickBooks, Credit Karma, and MailChimp. And we are always looking for new and innovative ways to power prosperity. At the core of the Intuit strategy, we focus on three core benefits. First is putting more money back into the pockets of our customers. Two is providing our customers more time so that they can focus on what matters most. And three is by providing confidence into every financial decision that our customers make. So we do this through our AI-driven expert platform, and we focus on doing this through our products and services through an open platform, incorporating artificial intelligence, and by adding experts to our platform. Through our AI-driven expert platform, we believe that we can revolutionize the services industry and also digitize the platform. So now I want to start with a negative use case scenario to introduce the contact center story. So imagine it's tax day, we've all been there, and it's the last possible day that you can file your taxes for the year. So you decide you're going to go with this offering where you are either going to dial in on the phone or you're going to go through on your laptop and you're going to get connected to an expert who's going to help you with your taxes for the year. So throughout this process, whenever you're going through and you're entering in information into all of these prompts or you're going in on the phone, you feel like you're answering questions that might not pertain to your particular tax scenario. And finally, after entering in tons of prompts and answering questions, you finally get connected to an expert, but you feel like they don't totally understand your use case or your specific tax scenario. And this is the exact situation that we want to prevent as a contact center. You want to provide the customer the ability to enter in the least amount of information, but feel that they're getting connected to an expert that best understands their problems. And so that was our overall goal here at Intuit. And so I'm going to dive into how we did that. And first, I'm going to introduce a couple of things. First is our business level objectives at Intuit. And then secondly, I'm going to dive into our technical level objectives. So first is our business level objectives. We really break these down into 3 types of offerings. The first is called Do It Yourself, which is product level support for our customers. This is where an expert might be helping with a product like you're using TurboTax or you're using QuickBooks and you have a particular question on the product, but for the most part, you're doing it yourself. Second, we have Do It With Me. So this is where an expert is going to work one-on-one with you to solve a particular problem, usually around context. So for example, like maybe you need help filling out a particular tax form or a bookkeeping problem within QuickBooks. This would be within the Do It With Me category. And then third, we call Do It For Me. So this is when you're going in and you're saying, here is all my information, complete my taxes for me, or complete all of this bookkeeping process for me. So these were the 3 types of offerings we were looking to support. And we were looking to do this across an omnichannel experience, meaning we wanted customers to be able to come in and say that they wanted to be contacted through voice or through chat, both of which we were able to do through Amazon Connect, and also video call, which we were able to do through Chime, which is a video collaborative platform from AWS. With that, I'm going to dive into our technical objectives. So what were our technical objectives at Intuit? First is we wanted a highly reliable service with over 99.9% availability. And this is because with such a critical topic like taxes or with bookkeeping and all of the domains and products we look to support at Intuit, we wanted to make sure that our experts and our customers are getting connected and staying connected. Second is scalability. So with a business like tax season, which can scale quickly, and I'll go over a stat in a later slide, up to 30% and a specific time frame, we needed to be able to scale without allocating servers or worrying about how we get to a specific number of experts or customers on a technical side. Third is configurability. So again, with so many different domain and product areas, we needed to be able to configure every product to work a little bit differently, and the customer experience might be different across different products. One of the things Naomi's going to talk about in a later slide is about how to customize your contact flows and customize your contact level experience so that you can customize your contact center to match similar to how we also configured for each product to be different. Next is observability. So as I mentioned earlier, we want to make sure that our calls are getting connected to our experts and staying connected. So we need to be able to observe to make sure that our customers and our experts and that conversation is continuing and that the call quality is great. So I'll talk a little bit more about call quality in a later slide. Transcription and custom vocabulary. This is really important because with so many diverse areas, there could be specific acronyms or business terminology that wouldn't be in the common vocabulary that we needed to be able to support, which ties in to our final piece, which is analytics. And analytics is important for both the real-time aspect of monitoring calls, but also post-call. So using the custom vocabulary and using analytics from all the data that's provided through Amazon Connect, like contact trace records and agent event streams, we can measure productivity, but also ensure that each customer experience and each contact experience is better than the last. All right, so now I'm going to dive into 3 unique scenarios. 1 is our customer, 2 is our expert or our agent, and 3rd is our operations team, and really how this all ties into our contact center experience. But first, talking to our customer experience, as you see here on the diagram on the right side of this slide, you'll see our TurboTax Live product where a customer has an option to get a callback or a chat. So what we've done at Intuit is we've built a custom customer portal where the customer can go in and they're entering in the minimal amount of prompts, but we also have the information the customer has entered in before when working with us so that we understand the customer to the best possibility without them re-entering in tons of information. So once the customer has entered in on the prompts, we calculate this down into what we call the customer intent, just a few key words that, that explain what the customer is looking for. And once we understand the customer intent, and what I'll show in a later diagram is how we come back and then present that customer with these contact options you see here, where the customer can then request that particular channel type on that omni-channel experience. So next is our agent level experience. For our agents, the most important thing is that our agents have all the information in one place and that they're able to best understand our customers again. So with that, we were able to use the Amazon Connect Streams library to build a custom telephony widget, which allows us to have all of our customer interactions and the information customers have entered all in one single place. So we integrated this telephony tool both into CRM tools like Salesforce, but also our own Omnichannel hub for experts. So one of the things I'll show later is a diagram that explains a little bit more about what we call our call pop experience. But here in the image you can see on the right, you'll see that there is a telephony tool on the right, and the expert has all the information they need on a particular customer in order to best serve them. In addition to that, the custom telephony tool also allowed us to publish customized metrics. So things like what is the current call quality and how did the call end, to ensure that those calls between our experts and our customers are stable both on an individual level and as a contact center as a whole. Which ties in great to the third piece, which is our operations side. So for our operations, I first want to quickly say that we represent our domain and skill level requirements using Amazon Connect queues, which are grouped together into Amazon Connect routing profiles. And with such a large volume of domain and skill level expertise, we needed to be able to manage those queues and those routing profiles as well as each of our agents at scale. So using the abstracted out Amazon Connect APIs, we're able to do things like move queues around, work directly with hours of operations for our agent and custom hours of operation, do things like remove agents from routing profiles when we need to, all types of different operations that we're all able to handle at scale, thanks to these awesome APIs that are provided by Connect. So with that, before I dive into the next slide is going to be an overall high-level architecture diagram, and it has a lot of information on it, but I'm going to break that back down into those three categories: the customer, the agent, and the operations team. So I'm going to go into this slide again. It's very high level and go into it quickly. First is on the left side, which is our customer level experience. You can see at the top left part where the customer goes in and they're requesting support, whether that be for a product or domain level expertise. And then after all of this flow goes through, the expert gets what we call a case pop. And finally, the call is also being monitored in real time and the contact center as a whole by our operations teams. So I'm going to dive into that in a little bit more detail. First, starting with the customer intent again. So this is where the customer goes through, they're in the customer portal, and they've entered in that prompts of information. And once we get that customer information, we use what's called our Customer 360 platform, and we use machine learning and artificial intelligence for understanding the customer intent. So again, we've calculated this all down into specific keywords, showing that we understand what the customer is currently asking for. And within this inbound contact distribution management, we also have business rules defined around what channels are available, which channels are staffed with experts, and other specific workforce operation rules. And next is that expert experience again. So that customer has then selected, hey, I would like a callback. I want to get a callback from Intuit. That is then where we go through and we queue this conversation. In the diagram you see on the right, you'll see that there's a queue representing Amazon's Simple Queue service where we are queuing our calls. And at the time that call is supposed to happen, whether that's an appointment or whenever the next available agent is there, we're doing more AI and machine learning to ensure that we're pairing that customer with the best possible expert to solve their problem. all while in real time, which will show in a little bit in the next diagram. This data is being published from Amazon Connect into S3, the simple storage service within the data lake. And the the contact gets created on Amazon Connect, where the expert then receives a case pop with all the customer information to serve that customer. Now back to the operations perspective. So all of this data is being reported in real time to a real-time metrics dashboard using metric data APIs provided directly from Connect, but also logs like I talked about earlier, like contact trace records and agent event streams, which are provided through Amazon Connect and fed through Amazon Kinesis Data Firehose, which is a AWS service used for dumping data or transforming data to a place like S3 or Splunk. And so using all of that, we're able to monitor the calls in real time and ensure those calls are continuing. But we're also able to use that for post-call data analytics to ensure that every contact experience between our experts and our customers is improving. All right, so what did that allow us to do? So getting to the finale here, our contact center success metrics. We were able to produce over 3 million hours of conversation for voice-based calls with a 30% year-over-year growth in total number of contacts. Really tying back to what Naomi talked about earlier about customer satisfaction being at an all-time high. These metrics really talk to that with that customized experience. Next is 30% of those contacts are concentrated over a 2-month time frame. So as I talked about with tax season being a high volume very quickly, it was really important that through Amazon Connect, we were able to scale to meet the volume and the needs that we had. And lastly, this metric at the bottom, this was across 26 unique offerings or 26 unique customer experiences where customers would have all these different domain or product level experiences that needed to be customized just a little bit differently depending on the scenario or the use case. So with that, I'm going to replay this scenario one more time. It's tax day and you were able to go in and answer just a few simple prompts and questions, and you were able to get connected to someone that you felt like really solved your questions. And all of that was possible because of this awesome platform we were able to build with Amazon Connect using their APIs and their Connect Streams library. And so with that, I'm going to toss this back over to Naomi, who's going to talk about AWS high availability architecture and some of the best practices so you can work on your customized contact center experience.
Great, thank you so much, Sam. So now that you've heard a bit about Intuit's journey on creating personalized customer experience at scale with operational resiliency, I'd like to share with you how AWS and Amazon Connect are architected for high availability. So why is AWS different than a traditional data center architecture you may be used to with on-premise contact centers? So the AWS global infrastructure is built of AWS regions and availability zones. It's important to note regions are not equivalent to data centers. AWS regions provide multiple physical separated, isolated availability zones, which are connected with low latency, high throughput, and highly redundant networking, which are connected, in availability zones are made up of one or more discrete data centers, each with redundant power, networking, connectivity housed in separate facilities. Therefore, availability zones are more highly available, fault-tolerant, and scalable than traditional single or even multiple data center architectures. So Amazon Connect is deployed in each region where the service is available across 3 availability zones. When you create an Amazon Connect instance, the configuration of that instance is propagated across availability zones in an active configuration. Each one of these availability zones is one or more discrete data centers. In the event of failure, one of these availability zones is taken out of rotation automatically without impacting production. This architecture allows for us to perform maintenance, release new features, and expand the infrastructure without requiring any downtime to any of our customers. And in this diagram, you can see the call path from left to right, where callers are reaching your contact center via telephony carriers that are operating across multiple availability zones all at the same time. The media and application servers within the Amazon Connect infrastructure, including the interactive voice response applications, routing, and signaling, are installed and operating across a minimum of 3 availability zones. As a reminder, this high availability architecture is automatically included when you build an Amazon Connect in a single region. So in addition to high availability that you get with the AWS architecture, I would like to share some of the design considerations we've developed with our experience working with customers as best practices as we work with customers like Intuit. So no matter where you are in your contact center journey, planning for business continuity is key to resiliency. So these are some considerations that we've seen as being proactive with risk mitigation and contingency planning. Define your redundancy requirements as a first step. If you haven't already done this, map out your use case scenarios for each of your businesses and internal support functions. Ask questions like, what are the most critical points in the experience? What things could go wrong? Where are your dependencies on integration points? What are the weather-related events that could happen or other emergencies that could happen? And what's the tolerance of impact on each of those use cases? And then take that exercise and then define those redundancy and availability requirements based on that. Set a standard, so define your recovery time objectives and your recovery point objectives for each of your business functions. And define a business criticality rating for each. This will help you prioritize solutions and evaluate the risk of the impact to your customer experience. In addition, document and define entry points. So phone number and carrier strategy. Map that to your business criticality rating and your to your use cases. So for example, inbound transfers, domestic versus international. And if you have hundreds to thousands of phone numbers, then it's important to ensure you have a process for maintaining and strict governance on maintaining those phone numbers. Ideally, you will have ported your numbers to Amazon Connect so that we can maintain that carrier relationship for you. But in the event that you're forwarding those, it's important to ensure you have documented the relationships in the telephony failover procedures for those. And what are your existing failover mechanisms that you have today, and how will it change with Amazon Connect and your AWS architecture? Utilize the redundancy and availability requirements you defined previously, and then review and define your failover mechanisms based on that. And then define your overall business continuity plan. So this includes everything we've been talking about, plus procedures around roles, responsibilities, and escalations for the most critical functions to execute that plan. So for example, run fictitious simulations of the unhappy path and the disaster scenarios that you've defined. Test, validate, and document those results. And during those drills, validate your procedures. So run those simulations at regular intervals. So maybe consider quarterly or even ad hoc before a major launch. And then adjust your continuity plans based on those drills that you're running to keep them current. In our experience, customers that have robust business continuity plans, like Intuit, for example, that have those in place, have less impact and are more agile when an unplanned contingency event occurs. So also, when designing your customer experience, there are some key considerations that can help you with scaling, resiliency, and enabling personalization. So the screenshots to the right are from the Amazon Connect Contact Flow Editor, which is a drag and drop interface from our web-based administration console. The contact flows are where you define each step of the customer experience and build in those integration points. They are comprised of building blocks that you can drag, drop, and configure from the administration console to implement the experience. And this is where your customer entry points, like your phone numbers or your chat front-end interfaces, would land, for example. So these are some of the considerations that will help you in those areas. So create naming standards. It's really important to create naming conventions for all of your configuration, especially including contact flows and contact attributes. If you haven't heard of contact attributes, they have multiple uses, but they're commonly used to read and write data from your customer data sources. Attributes often can be multi-purpose to not only enable personalization, but to also feed into your data model for reporting and data warehousing to track customer journeys. Therefore, it's important to create a naming standard and categorize those attributes so that you can scale up quickly with an organized model. There are different contact flow types, as you can see from some of the screenshots here, for different parts of the experience. Things like whispers for the agent or the customer, or even customizing the queue flow experience for the customer while in queue. And as you build this personalized experience using these different flows, it's important to have a naming convention to keep them organized. We also have a built-in feature for modular flows. And this is a feature that allows you to take areas and segment parts of the experience that are common and repeatable. In this example, we're capturing information that informs the language preference, because this may be a common experience for all your contacts. And as shown in the screenshots, you can invoke this module from an isolated, into an isolated contact flow for that part of the experience. It allows you to have one place to maintain your common components in the experience and enables you to adjust those portions quickly in keeping the critical parts of that experience isolated from the main contact flow, therefore reducing risk of inadvertent impact. Also, dynamic logic is another best practice. This is where you can build in variable data that resides outside of your contact flows. So you can keep them as static as possible, requiring less configuration change and therefore less risk. And contact flows have an ability to invoke AWS Lambda functions, our serverless code service. This allows you to build in that dynamic model, and Lambda can help you read, write, or query any data to inform your experience. In this screenshot, we're invoking a Lambda function to capture and pass the language preference to contact attributes. Also enable logging for Amazon CloudWatch, our monitoring and logging service. This is also built in within Connect. So you can enable and disable that logging from anywhere in your contact flow, so you can control that logging where it makes sense. But logging is super important for troubleshooting and development, as it allows you to track your customer experience block by block. Also, it's important to build in purposeful error handling and default routing. So don't just focus on that happy path. Ensure you're utilizing our built-in error paths on each block. Do things like set contact attributes in default logic so you have fallback options. This will reduce impact to the customer experience in the event that you do have an error at any point in your flow. In addition to considering scaling, there are some areas here not mentioned on the slide that I wanted to call out. So things like offering self-service options. You can build in personalization and scale using conversational bots with Amazon Lex, our natural language service, for resolutions that may not require an agent. You can enable callback from queue, which is an option that can save customers time. Callback from queue will give customers an option when there's no agents available due to high call volume and low staffing. As you heard Sam in their use case, they're using that in their experience. Additional benefits with queued callbacks is that it can save you money by reducing usage costs. You can build in this callback from queue by simply using the set working queue block to turn it on. And you may also consider using a queue metric look-ahead option, where we have a get queue metrics block that gives you a view into what's happening in that queue real time. So you can build in conditions based on what's happening, things like offer callback, for example, if you have X number of calls in queue or agents are not staffed during that time. So when it comes to resiliency and scale, it's also important to define and execute a plan around change management. So by being ahead in these areas, you'll reduce the risk of unintentional changes that could impact resiliency of the customer service, of the customer experience. So while it'll also provide you agility for continuous innovation enhancements like you've seen with Intuit. At the start of your Amazon Connect journey, it's important to spend the time to define and document a development process, a migration plan, and validation procedures across your environments. By the way, ideally, we recommend having at least 3 environments that are isolated. So one for development, one for testing, and then one for your production volume. We often also recommend working in an agile Scrum methodology within 2-week sprints so you can build in that agility. In initial planning, create living documents. These may include playbooks, runbooks, or even README files that will help inform your users on making environment changes and documenting those along the way. In addition, you can utilize aliases for AWS Lambda and Amazon Lexbots so that you can reduce the risk of inadvertent changes and maintain version control. Testing and debugging procedures, not just for the happy path. So test the error handling that we talked about earlier as much as possible. This will help reduce the risk of production impact. Conduct user acceptance testing and business validation as an additional step. You can do this in your test environment, and this ensures that that user experience aligns with the business strategy that your stakeholders are looking for in the customer experience before it goes into production. This testing environment also allows for business activities like training new agents. And again, putting that in an isolated environment then reduces the risk of any inadvertent impact to your production or even your development. Consider automation as much as possible. So build in continuous integration / continuous delivery, so also known as a CI/CD pipeline, to scale and reduce risk. If you aren't able to build in CI/CD, be sure to build in backup versions of your configuration. So contact flows, for example, pick a repository of your choice and utilize our import-export built-in feature and build that into your change management process. Follow least privilege access. So only provide production access to your most critical roles and limit changes in production. Ensure there are clear, well-defined, and well-understood processes to back out any changes to a previous state for a specific change that was performed. For example, if you publish a new flow, ensure that the change instructions include documented instructions on how to roll back to that previous version, even if you're not planning to. Create an operational center of excellence. This includes defining roles and responsibilities in a format of something like responsible, accountable, consulted, and informed, something we also refer to as a RACI matrix. Or do something similar to define processes for your intraday operations so that everyone understands their role and what they need to do at all times. And create living documents to help your resources, things like runbooks for each of those tasks. And provide visibility and monitoring into real-time and historical trends to your operational team, as you heard Sam mention as well. So in addition to ongoing development and operational activities, you should also plan for major releases. So for example, phases of a migration or a large line of business that you're adding to your environment. Major releases often come with additional risk. Therefore, it's critical to have robust launch planning in place. So things like go-live resources, including those roles and responsibilities for the project with granular information like contact information, schedules that are defined, and even defining what we refer to as hypercare support so that you have extra emphasis and extra eyes on your environment directly after your go-live. And make sure you include vendor contacts in that if you're working with any external resources. Maybe consider a separate RACI document just for your project if it's big enough. Create go-live checklists that include business validation steps prior, during, and immediately after launches to production. And ensure you have incident management processes in place. So for tracking and assigning incident cases with severity issues and escalation procedures, so that in the event you have issues, you can act quickly on them. Have launch steps outlined. So these steps are all the way from your business, your technical, and your vendors and external resources. Make sure you track owners, that you've assigned owners in schedules, and track dependencies on all of those tasks. And make sure you have backup procedures defined for all those critical areas and that you've validated those backup procedures, even if you're not planning on using them. And then don't forget your cleanup tasks for any major launch. Clean up that tech debt, as tech debt can actually create risk. And last but absolutely not least, create a security checklist. This could include things like doing an access review and checking for that least privilege access control that you put in place. Do things like ensure code scans are completed and if there are things that are found in those code scans, that they're addressed. So that could be on your Lambda functions, or it could be on other code in your environment. Ensure that all compliance and regulatory reviews have been signed off on. And to expand on operational resiliency, a critical operational task is establishing monitoring and alerting with your Amazon Connect environment. So as you saw with Intuit's story, it's important to provide the visibility into the real-time and historical operational metrics to maintain a proactive operational approach. And as mentioned before, Amazon Connect has built-in integration with Amazon CloudWatch, our monitoring and logging service. And not only are logs generated, but we have 25 built-in metrics that you can use to create a dashboard for monitoring and alerting. And as features are added, we continue to add to these metrics. Amazon CloudWatch metrics are meant for operational support type monitoring and contact center system health. Metrics are organized in dimensions. One of those includes contact flows, and contact flow errors is one of those metrics. These are metrics that are rare events, but it is important to have a proactive approach and monitor these so that you're alerted and as much advance notice as possible. Instance level metrics include things like call recording upload errors and concurrent calls for monitoring your peak call concurrency. So for example, you can set a threshold based on your concurrent calls to alert your teams if you've met, say, 80% of your concurrency service quota threshold, and determine if you need to make an increase request. If you're not familiar with what those service quotas are, they are soft limits with Amazon Connect that you can request increases for. We also have dimensions for queue metrics, Voice ID API, which is our built-in voice biometrics, as well as app integrations for monitoring integration points with your customized experience. And like you heard with Intuit, you can choose your own preferred monitoring tools, so you don't need to use CloudWatch. You can leverage you can consume logs and metrics via our APIs into your own tools. This screenshot is of Amazon CloudWatch console, and it's an example of accessing one of the Amazon Connect metrics for building a widget in Amazon CloudWatch for monitoring and alerting. And here's an example of a CloudWatch dashboard that has several Amazon Connect built-in metric widgets with thresholds and alarms for notifications. Note several of these metrics will rarely have data points in a healthy environment, like I said, with contact flow errors or even packet loss if you have a stable network. You can see that there's even a metric here for monitoring if you've exceeded that call concurrency quota I mentioned before. But some metrics will have regular data points, like missed calls, for example. You can see in this example that there's an alert for, and these missed calls are when an agent gets a call and they don't answer that call. So you can set this alarm to be triggered. In this case, it was a single missed call. You may want to set that threshold to something different. You may not even want to alert on this metric, or you may want to alert a different population of people because this may be more operational than contact center health related. So it's really up to you. You can customize that however you'd like. In fact, notifications can be set to notify individuals or groups via SMS, email, or even integrate with your preferred messaging services, for example, Slack. And we have a blog article in the AWS Contact Center blog channel where you can deploy this dashboard in just minutes. You can then make adjustments to your preferred views. So you have options to select from different visualizations in your widgets to graph that data different ways. This is a very basic one, obviously. You can even add custom metric filters using CloudWatch so that you can monitor other data points, like your contact attributes if you're building in personalization. So all of these considerations, they may seem like a lot, but in our experience working with customers, this short-term sacrifice and spending this extra time to plan in these areas has proven to reduce the risk of critical errors or blockers from day-to-day operations to large-scale launches. And building in operational excellence is key, and the ability to scale and not only allows you to stay ahead of the curve in the growing customer demand, but it also enables you to spend more time in the long run to focus on innovation and exceeding customer expectations, therefore growing your customer loyalty and your brand. So as you've gone through this session today, we hope that you feel empowered to start your own Amazon Connect journey. However, if you do need help at all, we have specialized professional services like myself and support teams who are experts with Amazon Connect. We also have programs and partners that can help you accelerate at any point in your journey. If you'd like to learn more, contact your AWS account team or stop by and see us at the expo at the AWS Village. We'll be at the Business Applications booth. And if you'd like to dive deeper into Amazon Connect during this week at reInvent, check out our additional sessions. So in our additional breakouts, you'll hear about recent launches. You'll also hear from more customers and partners on topics like how women leaders are transforming customer experience and how customers are optimizing and improving contact center productivity and performance, and learn how to transform self-service using machine learning with Amazon Connect. If you'd like to dive deeper in today's topic, there's a Chalk Talk for a deep dive and discussion that includes whiteboarding session. There are also Chalk Talks on cross-channel engagement and optimizing agent productivity. And lastly, if you want to get hands-on, check out our workshop on you'll learn how to build routing contacts based on emotion models using Amazon Connect, AI, and ML. And note that all of these breakout sessions are recorded so that you can rewatch again if you need to, or if you would like to share with colleagues that couldn't attend today. And just a tip, if any of these sessions are full and you really want to go, there's always overflow capacity. So if you get there early, check it out. You might be able to get a spot. With that, I want to thank you all so much for attending today, especially late in the day on day one. We know you're probably all pretty tired, but we really appreciate you being here. But a special thanks to Sam from Intuit for taking the time to join us today and share their Amazon Connect story. Please let us know how we did in the short survey in the mobile app. It's so important to us that we meet the expectations that you have when you're coming to these sessions at reInvent, and we use your feedback directly to build future sessions.